everybody. Welcome to our first ever live edition of Off Season After Dark here with Jake and Bossman, two people you frequently see me with on usually Thursdays. Last week it was Wednesday, but we are here today to talk about the busiest coaching day of the year in the college football world. So a lot going on. I think the only right place to start is probably with the biggest opening, most drama of the day. Coastal Carolina firing Tim Beck, of course. going to a bowl game. The Chants got rid of Tim Beck, and he was disappointing in his few years there, and that's all we have to say about that gig. So I think the next place we can go is probably Ole Miss and LSU for everybody out there who hasn't been living under a rock all day. Most of you probably know the particulars. But it finally, I think we all were waiting. You know, it was a will he, won't he? And I'm not surprised at the result. I'm a little surprised with how toxic and immature it got at the end. What about you guys?
Go ahead, boss man. Oh, yeah. I just, it was crazy. I actually thought Kiffin had actually grown up at his time at Ole Miss, but apparently he hasn't, because he played off the childish role of, kind of pretty much stating that if he left, he still wanted to coach the championship playoff games. But, why would the team let him do that if they already know he's going to leave? So I don't blame Ole Miss for telling him, said, go ahead and get out and go to Baton Rouge, and then just holding them hostage. Like, well, his coaching staff especially said, all the offensive side said, hey, if you come with me, then you got a job. But if not, stay here. You may lose yours with a new coach. I'm like, come on. That was
one of the things that's what rubbed me the most wrong about this was if you're going to leave, okay, but don't try to hold Ole Miss hostage with, I want to coach, but if you're not going to let me, I'm going to go scorched earth and take everybody with me. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
No, and the whole thing about, Ole Miss didn't give me an ultimatum. There was no ultimatum and all that. And he drags it on for this long. And then to give his assistants basically 24 hours to say, you're coming with me or you're not. He gives them an ultimatum and says, get on the plane or you don't have a job. And, starts making all these threats essentially. Man, the whole thing is just awful, frankly. Like, I feel terrible for Ole Miss fans right now. And the whole thing about it is that, people said, Jake, you mentioned it, like Lane Kiffin, maybe he had changed, right? We saw the 30 for 30 with Ryan McGee a couple months ago. Funniest part of that is him talking about how the grass isn't always greener. He had the Denzel Washington tweet, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Kenny Dillingham tweeted that exact quote today.
Wow.
After the Kiffin news broke. So, and Dillingham been mentioned for a lot of these jobs, right? Yeah. So, I just think this whole thing stinks to high heaven. The way that Lane Kiffin handled this was truly abysmal, like from top to bottom.
It would have been better if he would have just said 2 weeks ago, I'm leaving, but I really want to be here through the end of the season.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Correct. Yeah. It was, I tweeted this earlier today too, that, aside from all this drama, and by the way, this now is one of, if not the most infamous coaching story in SEC history. Like the 30 for 30 on this is going to be, there have been many crazy, coaching stories in SEC lore and SEC history. This one may top them all when it's all said and done.
Kiffin drama, Petrino on the motorcycle, Mike Price going to Pensacola. I don't know if they're like, those are the top three. Maybe Tuberville's Pine Box, but that was just a quote that I don't know if that reaches the level of those three.
Right.
Maybe the Harsin thing with the completely fake affair.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's a bad one. But so there is much in SEC coaching lore on this, but Lane Kiffin, the way that he handled this from start to finish, just because the other part of this too, people are like, well, you can't blame Lane Kiffin. It's the calendar and all this stuff. Well, the calendar is the same for Eli Drinkwitz. The calendar is the same for Mike Elko. The calendar is the same for Kurt Signetti and all these coaches who signed extensions. And the worst part about this is that Ole Miss gave everything to Lane Kiffin. They were at the forefront of NIL. Keith Carter, a great AD who's done a fantastic job. He's given Lane everything he could possibly want. In the new era of college football, you can win anywhere as long as you have a good support system, good NIL, and all that. And Lane Kiffin proved that at Ole Miss. So they give him the world, and this is how he repays them. He repays them by dragging this whole thing out for over a month and then stabs him in the back. And by dragging this out over the course of a month, I know that Keith Carter's a good AD. I know he was making phone calls, trying to get a backup plan in place. But you get to this point in the cycle, most of the coaches have either signed extensions, gone to their new school, or whatever. And that's how you end up with Pete Golding as your head coach.
And your backup plan can only go so far because you can't hire a guy when you still have the old guy on the book.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. You can't have two. So I don't. You go for it, Jake.
No, I was just going to say, we talk about what Lane leaving LSU or going to LSU. He's leaving Ole Miss, which their standard, and their expectation level is here. Now he's going to LSU, which is here. Now he's going to get the players. He's going to probably get, anybody out of the transfer portal because he's done that. But what happens?
I'm crying at thinking his QB next year might be Lenora Sellers.
Right.
He doesn't want that to happen. And it might.
But what happens when they're not making the playoffs every single year? He's going to be like Brian Kelly, and they're going to start booing him, and they're going to want him out. And if he is successful, maybe 3 to 5 years down the road, an NFL team comes back calling him, he's going to leave and go take that job. He's just not loyal to where he's at. And we've seen Kiffin do this time and time again.
And that's true. I will give him some credit. He wasn't a flash in the pan at Ole Miss, though. He elevated that program a significant amount. They're way better than when he took over.
Absolutely.
And up until today, he was the third longest tenured SEC head coach after Stoops and Kirby. So he had put in a significant amount of time there.
Yeah, I agree. But I just don't know if I want to leave what I've built up and, that's my team. I've created where Ole Miss is at now and leave knowing that I have no expectations. If I'm making the college football playoff at 10 wins every single year at Ole Miss, I'm going to get anything I want. I'm going to get the boosters, give me money. NIL is going to get money. Now at LSU, if it falters, he's going to be without a job.
And that brings up one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys. I don't know that there's any answer to it, but why leave? Does Lane just perceive that the ceiling is that much higher at LSU? Did he just want something new? What are the answers here? I mean, certainly, I think we would all say it's probably a better job, but it's tough to leave what he had too.
Right.
I think there's a lot there. The first thing is that I think that all of us can objectively say that LSU is a top 5 job in the country. Yeah. It just is based on history, based on resources. And Andy Staples, I think, put it best a couple of days ago when he was discussing this with Ari Wasserman of On 3. And they were talking about it. And Andy Staples' quote was, LSU's expectation is Ole Miss's ceiling. Yeah. And that's a great way to put it. And, throughout, and history matters in this sport, right? That's how you become a blue blood. I mean, it can change, right? I mean, Florida wasn't a blue blood until the 90s when they got Spurrier. And then since then, they've been a blue blood, right? So, maybe Kurt Signetti makes Indiana a blue blood, right? Over the next 10 years, that could happen. So it's not that it can't change, but it's a lot tougher to do at a place like Ole Miss because you don't have the history and the tradition there. LSU got, over 100,000 stadium, Tiger Stadium at night, all this stuff. So I think part of it was Lane Kiffin it's pretty tough when a place like LSU offers you $100 million something dollars or whatever at a top 5 job in the country. This is something that Lane Kiffin has coveted for a long, long time. And because of his own actions in the past, he hasn't been able to parlay his previous gigs into one of those big jobs. Well, now he was the belle of the ball in this cycle because of what he's done at Ole Miss. And so he gets this big thing. Now, why leave? Those are the reasons to leave.
Yeah.
Why do you not leave? Because you could build a statue in Oxford. Like, you could be the greatest coach of all time in Oxford, Mississippi. You've won 10 games, 3 straight years, first 11-win season in Ole Miss history. You've got all the momentum there. I think the thing about this, though, is that the whole paradigm has changed in college football to where the transfer portal has changed everything. You can change a place overnight. It's not like he's going in there with Brian Kelly's, players, or a couple years ago where you've got coaches who come in and the first thing they do is throw the previous coach under the bus because, the cupboard was bare, right? Not the case anymore. With Lane Kiffin, especially how he's used the transfer portal, he's going to go into LSU, and truth of the matter is they're going to be right back.
And with what after this drama and what LSU is going to be paying him, he never has a rebuilding year anymore. He can never say he's expected to do this every single year now. And he probably is well aware of that, but there's no more, there's no down years are okay anymore. It's you're winning now. Yeah. And I think similar to what both of you guys, with what you guys paid Jimbo Bossman, he was expected to win every year. Jake with DeBoer taking over for, Saban, you're expected to do it every year now. And I kind of wonder, to that notion, is Lane going to be in the same situation that DeBoer is? Well, if you lose 3 games and don't go to the playoffs, that's a disappointing year. People aren't going to want you anymore. Like, are the margins that fine now for him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt, they are.
Especially at LSU with expectations being so high.
Yeah.
I think I tweeted this earlier that LSU loves to be the villain. They don't care. They
are Darth Vader, and they're okay with that. Yeah,
they embrace the hate. They always have. And then their whole thing is, you hate us, we don't care. We're going to kick your ass anyway. We're going to come to your place. You're going to come to our place. Doesn't matter. Spot the ball. We're going to kick your ass. That's how it's always been at LSU. So,
and it's not just football. Jay Johnson likes that.
Yeah.
Kim Mulkey likes being that. Their whole identity is make way for the bad guy. And
exactly.
That's good for them. Yeah.
So now what just happened with Lane Kiffin is he had kind of rehabilitated his image at Ole Miss. He had, I'm new, I do hot yoga, and I'm back with my ex-wife, like all this stuff. He kind of rehabilitated his image. Now that's all out the window. He's back to being Lane Kiffin of Tennessee, Lane Kiffin of the Oakland Raiders, all that. He's the same guy he's always been. All that rehabilitation stuff is out the window. He became persona non grata in Oxford, Mississippi today, and across the rest of the SEC and most of college football. They see this for what it is, and he's a total villain. And so that's kind of, though, a match made in heaven, or maybe a match made in hell, depending on who you are, with LSU and Lane Kiffin, because LSU embraces that. Lane Kiffin is now the villain. And so you've got these 2 villains that just embrace the role. You're going to be hated everywhere you go. But you know what? We got Lane Kiffin who wins 10 games a year. We're going to kick your ass.
Like, I think the closest comparison I can think of to that is almost late 80s, early 90s, Miami with Jimmy Johnson, Dennis Erickson. You really embrace that role of nobody likes us. And if you can recruit the right type of athlete that wants to be a part of that and likes that us against them mentality, it can really work. Yeah.
It's going to be Vaught-Hemingway Stadium next year when LSU rolls into town, whenever that may be.
Oh, God.
It's going to be that is peak TV right there.
I mean, it's gonna. When he went to Tennessee a couple of years ago and got the mustard bottles thrown at him, it's gonna make that look like a McDonald's place. It is gonna be wild.
I don't remember. I can't credit them because I don't remember who tweeted it. There's been so many tweets that have stuck in my mind today, but one of them was, I don't even think the condiment has been invented yet of what will be thrown in Oxford, Mississippi at Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Man, no kidding.
The other good one I saw was it was Lane Kiffin changing, and it was in the ring when Sting takes off his mask and it's the face paint, and it's exactly the same.
Yes.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
Man, it is.
But let's pivot. So sticking with Ole Miss here, they moved quickly, hired Pete Golding, and I wanted to ask you guys your take on this. So when Lane gave them apparently the ultimatum of you're either coming now or you don't have a job with me, Golding said almost right away, he was staying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Keith Carter had already made the decision to hire him, or do you think it was made after Golding said he was coming or staying? I mean,
I don't know. I think Golden is a very likable guy in that team, especially defensively. Really, really like him as players. When he was at Alabama, the players absolutely loved him. And I think it speaks volumes to staying loyal to your team through all of this. And that's what he has done. My only thing with Golding is it's expectations. As long as he's winning 8, 9, 10 games, I think it'd be all right. But I think if he wanted to get into the head coaching ranks, he needed to start out a little bit smaller, maybe in a G5 school to build up his repertoire a little bit. But I think for him, the defense was elite. If he can keep most of those guys come back next year, the ones not moving off to the NFL, but if he can keep the core per se there, and I think that's what's going to happen, they're going to be okay. If he can maybe convince either Simmons or Chambliss to stay on his roster, I think they're going to be pretty good next year.
You'd imagine you could at least convince one of them to stay too.
Right, exactly.
And
it seems like Austin Simmons is on board, right? He put up the picture, on his Instagram. He made his picture. I can't remember who it was. Maybe I think it was Joe Judge. So he seems to be on board, and it sounds like Joe Judge is going to stay. So
I would hope Judge would be the O coordinator. I mean, that to me, in fact, I'm a little surprised he wasn't the guy that was named. I thought he was going to be interim head coach, which you can't even call Golding interim because they just named him the permanent right away.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, he's got coaching experience, so you figured he would have got the nod over Golden.
Absolutely.
The thing that I'm interested in with Golding is his defenses have been solid. I mean, I know Alabama fans near the end they were ready to see him go, but since he's been at Ole Miss, he's
fire Bill, fire Pete was that whole winter.
Fire everybody. That's Alabama fans, we get it. But
I know,
But he's done a good job at Ole Miss with those defenses. The thing that I worry about this reminds me a little bit of the opposite side of the Egg Bowl rivalry when after Mike Leach passed away, they had to make a shotgun hire. It was past the bowl game. And so they hired, or right before the bowl game. And so they hired Zach Arnett. And we all know how that went. It was one and done because it was awful. And so I think Pete Golding is a much better coach than Zach Arnett. Zach Arnett was just not ready for that stage yet. But, this is also going to change a lot. I mean, does Joe Judge going into next year, is he going to run a similar offense to Lane Kiffin? I mean, Kiffin's a mastermind, right? And Charlie Weiss Jr. learned from him. Both of those guys are gone now. So what offense
is Weiss going with Kiffin? Do we know that?
Well, let me be clear about this because I just saw this tweet from Pete Nakos. You can actually read it. So Charlie Weiss Jr. got on the plane to go to Baton Rouge. However, sources tell Pete Nakos that despite Charlie Weiss boarding the plane to LSU to follow Kiffin to Baton Rouge, Ole Miss is still leaving open the possibility for a return if he's interested. So, maybe there's a possibility the door is still open there. But it's still, if Charlie Weiss doesn't come back, what does that offense look like next year? And that's what they're going to have to sell to somebody like Trinidad Chambliss, to Watkins on the outside, and then to somebody like Austin Simmons.
Right. Kwan Lacey, you obviously want him to stay.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about the Weiss stuff. That's good to know.
I think it came out about 10 minutes before we got on. So
if hypothetical, say Lane had announced this a couple weeks ago, I don't think Pete Golding would be the guy. Do you guys?
No.
I have a feeling it would have been Summerall.
Yeah.
It's because I had heard that there had been rumblings. Maybe Nakos reported that there were conversations in the background happening with Summerall. I mean, it seemed like, aside from Lane Kiffin, Summerall was kind of the belle of the second tier, right? Who's going to potentially, replace these guys, depending on what moves happen, what Lane Kiffin decides. And Summerall was the guy for a lot of them. I mean, I thought for a while maybe he was going to be going to Auburn, and now he ends up at Florida, and then Ole Miss seemed to be in the mix for that as well, making some calls. So By the way, if we want to switch to that, I think it's funny the reaction of Florida fans and Arkansas fans with the hires that they made today.
Yeah.
I think that Florida crushed it. I think John.
I don't understand the Gators people not liking that hire.
I don't either.
It makes no sense to me.
No clue.
I mean, I've seen comments where there was, when it was between Auburn and Florida for him, they was telling Auburn people, yeah, please take him. We don't want him. I'm like, really? I don't understand that at all.
I don't get it either. He's done a great job at Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
And was great at Troy.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's
yeah.
good everywhere he's been. And also, I saw a couple of people point this out. I will say this: the media folks like Chris Doring, I saw Laura Rutledge tweeted about it. The Gators who are in the media, they were pumped. They were all like, "We have talked to this guy. We know this guy. Like, he is great. He's going to do a great job at Florida." It's the fan base, in the replies all over Twitter, just saying, we're not happy about this. It's not big enough, whatever. The truth of the matter is this cycle, there was one big name out there. It was Lane Kiffin. And other than that, it was like, okay, there's some good, like Eli Drinkwitz, right? He could have been a great hire somewhere. Well, Mizzou, wrapped him up. It's all good there. He's going to stay in Columbia. After that, it was kind of like, okay, maybe Mike Elko, but he's at a big job. Like, why would he leave?
Yeah, he's not going to leave.
It felt like after Kiffin and Drinkwitz, there were three big names, and they've all moved on. Golish, Eric Morris, Sumrall. They've all found jobs elsewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it felt like with like Florida and even Arkansas, like the Arkansas fan base, it's like they wanted to hire Nick Saban. I mean, I'm listening to all these people losing their minds in the comments, like getting pissed about Ryan Silverfield. It's like, okay, he's got a sub 500 record against 500 and above record teams during his time at Memphis, but otherwise he's done a great job. And by the way, he beat you guys this year. He beat your team with Taylon Green, who is one of the best quarterbacks you've had in a while, despite the record for the rest of the team. Like, let's take a deep breath and give this guy a chance real quick. You guys were not going to hire Bill Belichick. I mean, from the Patriots days, you weren't going to hire Nick Saban. Everybody's losing their minds. And this cycle, there just wasn't enough massive candidates like that to make a splash in every single one of these programs.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah. And the Arkansas one, I don't really like the Silverfield to Arkansas one. He went to Memphis, where you have as much or more resources as anybody in the American, where he took over a good situation from Mike Norvell. He won games, but he never made the conference title. For me, very underwhelming. I mean, if you're Arkansas, you didn't fire Sam Pittman at midpoint of the season to end up with Ryan Silverfield. It has to be disappointing for them. And they're letting Hunter Yurachek have it on social media. I will say that.
They are.
His tweet about hiring Silverfield got ratioed by Hogs fans. So, I mean, I was actually curious to hear your take on that, Mike, because, I know you're much more plugged in to the G5 than a lot of us are. The G6.
Don't like it at all. Yeah. By the way, that Memphis opening is going to be fascinating because two names we're hearing for it are both guys with connections to that area. Hugh Freeze, Gus Malzahn.
So, very interesting.
We'll see what Memphis does. Yeah.
And I think both of them be great at Memphis.
Yes. Zero problem with either of them.
Right.
Well, hey, speaking of Arkansas too, I mean, we got to touch on this for a second. The news gets leaked by the local media, and it seems like that flubbed the Golesh to Arkansas.
Yeah.
So it will be fascinating now to watch over the next 4 to 5 years how each of these play out, right? Does the Silverfield hire work out? How does Golesh do at Auburn? Because if Golesh goes out and, brings Auburn back, right, to respectability, while Silverfield, flounders or something like that, just a hypothetical, who knows what's going to happen. But if that's what happens and you had Golesh on the finish line and and somebody leaked it and that completely blew up the whole thing, Hogs fans will be.
I also wonder if Golesh was purposely slow playing that because he thought the Auburn or Florida job might open up. Like I feel like if he was going to take that job, he would have taken it last week. There had to be apprehensions.
I think that was happening with both Golesh and Summerall, because I think they were playing they had all these three, both of them in the mix for these three jobs, and they were just waiting for the Kiffin domino to fall, and then they were going to try and pounce on the one that they wanted. And I think you're right. I think Golesh probably had Auburn at 1, maybe, or Florida at 1, Auburn at 2, and Arkansas at 3. And so then Summerall gets Florida, he falls at Auburn, and then Silverfield had to be Arkansas's, based on what you're telling me, Mike, like 6th choice.
Yes.
7th.
Yeah.
And that's that Auburn one, though. I thought Auburn would get Summerall and not Golesh. Both good hires, but I'm surprised at how that, though. Jake, you brought up a very interesting point, in our group, the supposed behind the scenes stuff at Auburn, just with all the overreach from staffers and boosters. And it's reasonable that someone wouldn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, that's, I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm an Alabama fan, but I'm not trying to be mean. But this probably isn't like, Alabama is structured different than everybody else, especially when Saban come in. I know you've got to let the boosters have a say since they are pumping money into your program. But Nick Saban went to Alabama, and now I know it's Nick Saban, but he told the boosters, "It's my team. I'm making the decisions. You hand me money, and I'm going to go win ball games for you." Until Auburn gets, finds a guy who has that mentality, they're going to be just a good but not a great program. They're not going to find a coach that is going to get them to that next tier where they want to be, and that is beating Alabama and getting the college football playoff. Now, Golesh might be that guy, but he's going to go in there and tell Mr. Yellowwood, "Hey, give me the money, but let me make the decisions, and you stay out of it." But I don't know if he's going to have that ability to do that or not.
I think Golesh could be that guy just based on his personality. But the thing about it is, Nick Saban had the pedigree already. He's got a national championship at LSU. He was successful at Michigan State. The NFL didn't necessarily work out, but that was mostly because the Drew Brees physical got flubbed.
Yeah.
And so he came into Alabama with a ton of fanfare, a ton of clout already, where he could walk into that room and say, "Look, do whatever I want to do because we're going to win football games here." Golesh doesn't have that type of clout yet, so it's going to take time. But say, he may have the personality to do it, and so give him 1 year, maybe into year 2, he's winning ball games. Maybe he's beating like the Texas A&Ms. Maybe he gets a big win over Texas. Maybe he gets a big win over Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Right? He starts to win some of those games like that, get some clout. That's when he's going to be able to start walking into those rooms in the offseason and say, "Look, you guys have all the money. The boosters meddling at Auburn has been a narrative for God knows how long. That's part of the problem here. And so give me the money. Let me work it. Let me do it. We hired a great GM. Let's just start moving and let me do what needs to be done. Give me the money, but it's going to take a little bit of time."
Yeah.
And some wins.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will take a lot of wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just looking at their schedule next year, Auburn, that is, I mean, they've got a favorable schedule. I mean, you got Baylor right now. That's and then Southern Miss, easy win. Jacksonville State, easy win. Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi State. Mississippi State probably going to be better, but you figured that would be a win for them. So I mean, there's 5 wins right there, and then you still got Alabama, LSU, Vandy, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee. So he could very well win 7-8 games this next year if everything falls into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be curious. Like DJ Durkin was in that search till the end. Be very curious where, does he be a D coordinator somewhere else, or will he get another shot as a head coach? He has been mentioned as a guy that could be Summerall's replacement at Tulane. Unless the other name there is Greg Gasparotto, who has been Summerall's right-hand man. If he wants the job, it's probably his, but he may go to Florida with Summerall. We don't know.
Who was it? So I heard, I know there's been a little bit of smoke of Coach O going on the staff at LSU with Lane Kiffin.
Oh, wow.
I think also that one of Kiffin's, partly the reason I think Golding was keen on staying at Ole Miss was because Kiffin wants to retain Blake Baker, which would be smart. So But the other thing I heard is potentially Coach O to Tulane. Is there anything to that, or what are you hearing, Mike?
It would not be shocking. I mean, he's a Louisiana guy, obviously. I've heard crazier things.
Yeah.
I would be apprehensive about him being a boss again. I mean, after that title, they crashed and burned the next 2 years, but they were good enough in 2019 that maybe that can write him a ticket in state if he wants another job. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. But yeah, he's Mr. Louisiana, knows Louisiana through and through. He can recruit the heck out of Louisiana. And in 2019, he showed he can assemble a staff. Everybody knows he's the recruiting guy. He's the rah-rah guy. He's not the X's and O's guy. But in 2019, he assembled one of the best staffs ever. He took one of the best teams ever, to a national, all the way to a national title. So, and maybe, he's been going on the Lane Kiffin-esque PR tour to try to rehab his image because, there was a lot of reasons why it crashed and burned at LSU. Pretty much on him. Basically, he kind of, started messing around in the background.
I think a big difference there, like you talked about going on like the Kiffin type rehabilitation tour. I think Kiffin tried to become changed and more presentable and different. Coach O is totally comfortable with who he is. And I think he embraces that deep Cajun role and he's okay with that. And if you don't like it, he's not going to try to change. So we'll see.
Yeah, no. I think that's right. Somebody tweeted this. I thought it was good. Is to be on watch to see if Kiffin has an accent when he goes into his Baton Rouge.
Oh
my gosh! Yeah.
Happy to have me and my family here in this
family. Yeah.
Leghorn.
Speaking of Durkin, if I was Alex Golesh, I would probably try to get him back as a defense coordinator, unless of course he takes a head coaching job. But having him, because Auburn's defense was great this year. I think it finished like 11th in the country. So it wasn't the defense that was the issue; it was the offense this year. So you got an offensive minded guy in Alex Golesh. Now you bring in a DJ Durkin at defense coordinator. That could really right the ship for Auburn if they want to be serious players in the college football playoff.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one because Golesh's D coordinator the last couple of years has been Todd Orlando, who himself is experienced. He'd been Houston, Texas, and Southern Cal as D coordinator, so he's been well traveled as well.
Yep.
Be curious. I kind of feel like for Durkin, it was either you're getting a head job or you're going somewhere else.
Yeah,
he will have no shortage of suitors if he goes
for sure.
Elsewhere.
I think you're right.
A good one for him. If I'm Pete Golding, I would consider bringing him back to Ole Miss's D coordinator.
Absolutely.
Make a lot of sense.
Well, the only difficulty there might be who gets to call the defense, right? If Pete Golding wants to call the defense, DJ Durkin is not going to go there. But if he's willing to give it up, Lane Kiffin gave up play calling duties. We've seen other coaches do that as well. Many of the ones who have not given up play calling duties have been fired or have had issues.
Billy Napier.
For sure. Billy Napier, right? Like, go down the list. The only one who's really seemingly at the top of the sport still doing that is Steve Sarkisian. And that was starting to get called into question in the middle of the year this year. So if Golding is willing to give that up, DJ Durkin would be a good option for that.
It's interesting. We talk about offensive guys doing that. Defensive coordinators who are head coaches rarely get this. It rarely comes up with defensive guys, even like Elko who calls the D. We don't bring it up with that side of the ball as much.
It is. Well, it seems to work better. I don't know why, but I mean, Elko coming back into the defense this year for A&M was like, thank God. I mean, he did an unbelievable job. I mean, they lose the game to Texas last week, but there was a couple blown coverages, but the defense still played really well in that game for the most part. There was a couple good plays by Arch, et cetera, but for the most part over the course of the season, Aggies were very thankful to have Mike Elko calling the defense again. It was much improved this year from last year. So it would be interesting. I was actually defending. I had, there was a lot of Aggies, I'm an Aggie for those who are watching and may not know, but when DJ Durkin was under Jimbo Fisher, there was a lot of consternation about DJ Durkin. He ran a lot of 3-man fronts. people were really ticked off. There was a couple games like the Miami game against Tyler Van Dyke where Tyler Van Dyke just went off. And so there was a couple reasons to like not love Durkin, but
statistically they were very good at some things though.
That's what I'm saying.
And the other thing too was they were so young on defense a couple of those years he was there.
Correct. And so I was actually defending Durkin go back a couple months because there was a bunch of Aggies going after him for some game at Auburn or something. And I went back, I looked at all the stats from he was there for 3 years. Every single year that DJ Durkin was there, that defense improved.
Mm-hmm.
And took like big steps in improvement. So he actually overall statistically did a great job at A&M. He's now done a great job at Auburn. He did a great job at Ole Miss. So yeah, he should be, at the top of everybody's charts in terms of hiring a defensive coordinator. And I think before long, I know that he's got the stuff, at Maryland and everything. And, that's a problem. Obviously, it's kind of giving him the black spot. But I think eventually that guy should get a head coaching job. He is a darn good coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Tulane has been one that, was mentioned. That might be a good fit for him. Talking about Golish, South Florida now, again, one of the other better G5, one of the top G5 programs. In fact, for those of you who are out there, I wrote an article today for Mike Farrell Sports on South Florida candidates. One name who's popped up in that search, Jake, is Kane Womack.
Yeah.
So he's a guy, I had Jerry Mack at Kennesaw, who's done amazing. There's their second year in the FBS and Mack's first year at Kennesaw. They're going to the conference title game in Houston next week. But Womack, Charles Huff, former Marshall guy, and now it's Southern Miss doing a good job. And then James Coley, receivers coach at Georgia, who's been all over in Florida. Yeah. We're hearing some decent names, but Kane Womack was really good at South Alabama. I know it seemed like his stock in the eyes of your fan base dipped a little bit this year, Jake, but what are your feelings on Womack?
If you look at Womack, especially last year and this year, I would say the first 3 to 4 games, the defense kind of struggled a little bit. Okay. But if you look after that, now outside of the Oklahoma game last year, the defense in the last 6, 7 games, they look spectacular. And they're the reason why, we were winning a bunch of games. Much similar to this year. I mean, the last 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, the offense has been sputtering a little bit. Kane Womack's defense has been locked in. Yeah. And there's an edge about this defense that we hadn't seen in a while. I mean, they're just nasty. They're just all over the field, just laying people out. So he's brought a certain attitude in his, he has that bend but don't break type defense. Now, I know they've been gashed a couple of times on the ground, but, he's a really good defense coordinator, and I think I'd hate to lose him, but man, if he gets another job somewhere, I would be ecstatic for him because certainly has coached his way into a head coaching position.
That's how I think if you're a G5 team, he'd be a good hire for you. He was good at South Alabama. I think Rick asked a good question here. A lot of people. Ole Miss has a lot of good players. A lot of teams will be going after those guys. I would be shocked if some of them don't end up at LSU. I mean, right. Caden Lee's a heck of a slot receiver. Stribling's on the outside there. I mean, we'd mentioned Lacey. And even if Kiffin had stayed, one of Simmons or Chambliss is probably gone. One of those guys is going to go. So, yeah.
Well, and Chambliss, I believe, so I was listening to Spirit Ben today, the guy who made the hoe comment about Lane Kiffin.
Oh, yes.
And I tweeted this earlier today. Of this whole saga, Spirit Ben, the winner of this entire saga, because vindication comes for him about 48 hours later. But so I was listening to his reaction. They had a show going on as the players meeting was happening with Ole Miss, and he was talking about this a little bit. I'm really interested to see how many of these players follow Lane Kiffin to LSU, because I'm sure there will be a couple that do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's such a good look, personality aside, all the craziness that surrounds Lane Kiffin. He's a hell of a football coach. And if you want to play in the NFL, you probably want to play for Lane Kiffin because he's put a lot of guys in the NFL, and and he puts a bunch of stats up on the stat sheet for you, especially if you're a quarterback or a wide receiver or a running back. So there will be some guys that follow him to LSU, but they're coming out. I think it was Aaron Torres, who's with Fox Sports. He tweeted this out about a week ago, and Lane Kiffin had that press conference last week where he said, this is a new era. Kids aren't too worried about the noise that's on the outside and all this stuff, right? You're talking about his, coaching, the coaching speculation. Well, Aaron Torres quote tweeted that, and he said, I have it on good authority, talking to multiple sources with, inside the Ole Miss locker room. There are many players that are pissed about the way that he handled this. And then it comes out today, Spirit Ben was talking about this, that the leadership council that Lane Kiffin put together was trying to get a hold of him and basically went to his house or went to his office and tried to say, what the hell's going on here, man? Like, you preached all this stuff to us. You preached leadership. How can you say that you're a leader when you're doing this? And so I think that there is a overarching sentiment with a lot of this Ole Miss football team that this guy's a scumbag. Like, why would we want to play for this guy? And so, yes, there will be some that follow him to LSU, I'm sure. But I actually think that maybe some will stay for Golding. I'm sure many will. I think that he's very well liked within the Ole Miss program. But then opposite of that, I think that we all know what's happening right now. Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, Texas, all these schools are behind the scenes, starting to try to pull some of these guys from the Ole Miss roster to come to their school. And I think a lot of them will end up at other SEC schools when it's all said and done.
Yeah. I think I saw something else today as well, that after the meeting, the players were screaming, it's Pete Golden's, team now or something like that. So it seems like they are, at least for some of them, are behind Golden. So I figured, like I mentioned earlier, if he can keep the core of the defense outside the ones who's leaving for the NFL, and at least keep one of Chambliss or Austin Simmons, that offense is going to be really good. And they can keep Karen Lacey as well.
All right, I got two questions for you guys. I think this will be fun. First one is, of these coaches who just got hired today in the SEC, who wins a national title first?
Mike, your show. You go ahead.
Lane Kiffin.
Okay, yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
But then aside
for all of the ilk and negatives we said, we've never said he's a bad coach.
No,
right. He's a great mind.
Yeah.
Great offensive mind for sure.
And the day he wins a national title, he's going to look back at everybody today that dunked on him and do this to everybody.
I know. Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
Totally. He's going to tweet the picture he sent to Spirit Ben, the ho hat, and it's just
exactly.
National title.
God, that was.
So then I got another question after this, but 1A would be.
I want Jake's answer for this one.
Oh yeah.
On who's going to win the? Yeah, I think it's going to be Lane Kiffin for sure.
I think so too. Yeah. So 1A from that would be, does he win a title within the first 4 years at LSU? Because that's the precedent.
Ooh.
It's tough. Ohio State's not going anywhere for a couple of years. They will be a mountain to climb for anybody.
Yep.
Notre Dame's going to be competitive.
Yep.
Texas Tech has more money than God out in West Texas right now.
Yeah. And look at the SEC. Alabama doesn't look like they're going anywhere. Georgia, A&M's coming up. They're not going anywhere. And then Texas. So it's going to be a tough road. I think he's going to have to win one within the first 4 years. Are you going to start hearing the rumblings of, we probably made a mistake here. He's a great coach, but he can't. My thing with Kiffin, me and Stacey talked about this when we did our show. We just did our show earlier today, but he don't sound like he can win the big game. So
he hasn't made the playoffs before this year for all we talk about him. Yeah.
And now he's not even going to get to coach it because of what he's doing.
Yeah. So my second question then is, all right, we all agree. I think Lane Kiffin probably wins the title by year 3. He's that good of a coach.
I will say yes within 4 years, even though it's a tough one. Just looking at other teams that are going to be competitive.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
I mean, I think the SEC is more competitive than it's ever been. And so I agree with you.
And up till this year, Lane's also had a game or two every year where they've really underperformed.
Yes.
You can't have that in a 4-game playoff. You got to play good against 4 legit teams in a row.
That's right. And he had one this year, but they escaped Wazoo at home.
Yeah, right.
So then my second question is, all right, we all agree Lane Kiffin probably going to be the first one to win a national title of all these coaches hired.
Mm-hmm.
The second tier of that is now Auburn with Golesh, Florida with Summerall, and Arkansas with Silverfield. Do any of them win a national title during their time at their respective school?
Summerall's the only one I think that has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I also wonder with how much some of those people are against him already, is he going to A, get run out of town, or B, do well and take another job at a good school because he doesn't want to deal with that anymore? Well, I think Silverfield is the first that gets fired too. I will throw that out there of this group.
Well, I will say Summerall can change all that if he comes in and instantly starts winning. The fans 100%. Will, the fans will be behind him 100%. It's just going to be tough, because I mean, there's a deep recruiting pool down there in Florida for sure. He's got plenty of guys to pick from, but changing the program around overnight is really going to be tough. Same way with Alex Golesh, but I would probably say Summerall out of that list are probably the first one to have has the better chance of winning a national championship.
That would be my guess as well. The only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is that it hasn't always happened. The last two haven't worked out this way. But Auburn, typically when they hire a new coach, gets some random jolt from the gods, the college football gods. And within 2 years, somehow they strike it lucky and they're in the national title.
Right.
So one thing that could alter with Summerall a lot, are they able to keep DJ Lagway, or does he go somewhere else? Because if Lagway leaves, your first 2 years, it's probably a no. But if he stays, you could be competitive right away. Lagway's one, I wonder, he is a guy someone will throw a large bag of NIL at. Does he go back home to Texas Tech, and is he the next guy there?
That's a very good point.
We don't know.
Could be Raiola at Texas Tech too. They're saying he may enter the transfer portal and try to become, actually legitimately become Patrick Mahomes.
Could be Sellers somewhere.
Yeah, I was thinking if Lane went to Florida that Lagway was probably gone, but with Lane not going to Florida and it's Summerall, if I'm Summerall, I'm trying everything I can to keep that kid, and it seems like he wants to be a Gator, so just match whatever NIL. I still, and I know that people are not as high on DJ Lagway because of the, at least this year, right? This year did not go very well, but he did play well at times, and I still think he's one of those guys, right, where you look at the things that you can't coach, right? He's got the size, he's got the arm, he's got everything he needs to be successful.
And he's good enough and talented enough where you don't roll the dice in the portal if you can keep him.
Right. Yeah. Thing about Lagway is he's got to make that next step this next year if he stays for Summerall to start boosting that program back up.
Very good point.
Yeah. I think to go outside of the conference for just a second. I
love the Pat Fitzgerald hire, by the way, at Michigan State.
Yes.
That is a very good hire for them.
Great hire.
And I like Jonathan Smith. I made the comparison today on Twitter. Jonathan Smith was like Brian Harsin at Auburn. He's a really good coach. He was just at a terrible fit for him.
Yeah.
He's a West Coast guy. Michigan State wasn't the right place for him.
Yeah.
He should go to UCLA. I mean,
he is a Pasadena native, by the way. It is his hometown.
He should go to UCLA. I mean, UCLA, that's a graveyard for coaches at this point. But
sounds like they want Chesney a lot, who's at James Madison. But to me, it's odd. You don't see a lot of East Coast, West Coast.
I don't think that's a good idea at all.
I
think he's a good coach. I think he's doing a great job at JMU. But I mean, most of his coaching career is Midwest to the East Coast. Like it's like a fish out of water, putting him in.
I've made the cut for him. If UCLA is my only P4 option, you feel like you're going to stay relevant at JMU. Maybe I stick it out one more year there and see what comes up next year.
Yeah.
Wisconsin could come open. We'll see what happens, on that part of the country. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we still have one of the biggest jobs in that part of the country open. I mean, Penn State's still. What the hell is going on at Penn State?
Speaking of that, looking at Cal sheet today, do you know who is now the betting favorite at Penn State?
Josh Heupel.
Josh Heupel.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what?
Yeah, wow.
I know. So I saw Richard G. West got a couple people on that. I tweeted out Richard G. West bomb.
Yeah. Hey, after Vandy, embarrassed them yesterday, they may want Hopper out of there now. Who knows?
Like, what would it take for him to leave? Like, is he having it out with the administration? Is something going wrong, or like?
I don't think so. I mean, it's Danny White.
Yeah.
It's like him and Danny White are like this. Like they've been
Right.
since UCF. I don't think it's anything like that. The only thing I can think, I mean, that seems like a weird fit anyway. I mean, Heupel's he's an Oklahoma guy. He's an SEC guy. Like, why would he go to Penn State in the Big Ten?
Right.
So that from the start feels like an odd fit. But the only thing you can think is that when you get to this point in a coach's career, what is he in year 4 at Tennessee?
Yeah.
So
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Made a playoff, like he's done well. It's this is the point in the next like 2-ish years that if you don't continue to make progress, if you don't make another playoff, that it starts to get stale and the fan base starts to get a little bit antsy.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if this guy really is the guy, even though he's done a lot for your program, brought it back from the dead after the Jeremy Pruitt era. And so you wonder if from coaches' perspectives, they start to think about that and they start to think, I can start my clock over. I can get a 6-year deal, right, at a Penn State or wherever for a lot of money and start my clock over. So that would be the only consideration I could see. But otherwise, I have no idea why he would leave Tennessee. And I said this in the preseason. I think I picked Tennessee to go 8-4 because of the whole thing that happened with Nico. Josh Heupel handled that about as well as anybody could have handled it. And it was an impossible situation. He did a great job with that. And so this year, to me, they played really well early, which is what, the expectation level raised a little bit. And so, but to me, this year was a wash for Tennessee anyway, just based on.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's restart next year. Like, let's get it back going again.
By the way, Nico will be highly sought after in the portal if he decides to go at it again. For as much of a disaster as they were, he played pretty well at times.
He did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would love to see Nico playing for Kurt Signetti, by the way, just throwing that out there. That could be interesting.
That would be fun.
Hey, so the other one I was thinking about outside of the conference is somebody tweeted this earlier and they said, who would have thought that Virginia Tech made the runaway slam dunk hire of the cycle? And James Franklin is putting work right now in Blacksburg.
Yeah. What a slam dunk hire for them.
Yeah. They're going to be good quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other one, I after Nick Rolovich is the interim at Cal. They knock SMU out of the conference title game last night. If I was Cal, I would name Rolovich as the full-time head coach. He's a hecker. He was doing good at Wazoo before being unceremoniously fired, in that debacle. But Rolo's a good coach, and I would hire him. One of the best coaching memes I saw was Nick Rolovich fired at Washington State for refusing the vaccine. Now at Cal, the most liberal school in the country. America is healing.
We're coming back.
Yeah.
That surprised me. The Wilcox getting fired from Cal.
Me too.
I thought that was very surprising, honestly.
My whole thing about that, I saw that. I was surprised. I had forgotten that Rivera was now the GM or whatever.
Yeah.
GM. Same as Andrew Luck is at Stanford.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to me, it says like he means business. We're not messing around. We're done with 6-6. That doesn't cut it at Cal. We have too much history here. Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch and Jared Goff and all the way back. There's a lot of history.
Deshaun Jackson. Yeah.
Deshaun Jackson. I mean, they've had players. So I love that. I would love to see Cal and some of the Stanford and there's so much people are talking about. Cal and Stanford, nobody comes to their games anymore. Blah blah blah. They should just shut their football programs down. I'm like, you're not a college football fan,
right?
The band on the field, Marshawn Lynch, Toby Gerhart, all these guys, man. Stanford and Cal are ingrained in college football history. I want to see those programs good again.
Yeah.
The video of Marshawn Lynch driving that little trolley
Yeah.
around just owns me every time I see it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great.
It really is.
Yeah. Both those teams though, like it'll be good. I don't know what they'll have to overcome to be good in the ACC though. If geographically will it hurt their programs? I don't know that it will. Some people say it will. That's an interesting one though. You know, they're just so far removed from the rest of that conference.
Yeah. So I got another question for you guys. We can come back in conference here.
Okay.
There's a lot of speculation now after Kentucky just got shelled by Louisville, 41-0 in a rivalry game. Kentucky is obviously going backwards to nowhere fast. And I know the Mark Stoops buyout is pretty prohibitive. I think it's like if they fired him tomorrow, it would be $37 million due within 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I believe it would be the third biggest in history if they fired him tomorrow.
It's just nuts. So I don't know that they can do it, but it feels like we're coming to a point of no return with Mark Stoops. But we're so late.
5-7 was better than we thought they'd be this year, though. That roster had no talent relative to the SEC.
Yeah, I didn't think they would win 4 games.
If they would have won their last game and made a bowl game, he's an SEC Coach of the Year candidate. Taking that team to a bowl game. But he's not. They didn't. I would hold on to him. But I was talking to a Kentucky fan a couple days ago, and he's on the get rid of him. You also wonder for them, did they miss their convenient window to get rid of him and hire John Sumrall, who's an alumni?
Right.
Now that ship has sailed. You don't have a convenient candidate anymore.
Nope.
No, I also think where we're at in the cycle with the coaching, the whole coaching carousel, it's just wait till next year, right? See what happens. And, look, maybe he goes into the portal, finally hits on a quarterback and gets a whole bunch of talent in there. They put a lot more resources behind NIL. I mean, he's always, moaning and complaining about we don't have enough money here. So maybe finally, they'll put a lot of resources behind it. And maybe he's got a year next year like Tony Franklin had at Virginia. I mean, Tony Franklin was a dead man walking this year, and now he's in the ACC.
Tony Elliott.
Right. Yeah, Tony Elliott. Sorry, Tony Elliott. Tony Elliott at Virginia. Like, maybe that happens, but I don't know. It just feels that's a little bit of a different scenario. Right? I mean, this is Tony Elliott's.
It's tougher with the schedule. Like Virginia preseason was one of my favorite bets on the over for their wins because the schedule was so weak. You typically don't get the imbalance there in the SEC and Big Ten.
That's true. It's very different. Very different conference. I don't see Kentucky, no matter how much better they are next year, making a run at the SEC title game.
By the way, I love 7-5 Duke is playing for their conference title game.
That is
so awesome.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But if they somehow win, I know they got shellacked by Virginia early in the season.
Yeah.
But if they somehow win, then the ACC, they're talking about probably not going to have anybody in the, unless Miami mates the college football playoff.
Do they not have an auto bid now?
No, because it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So Tulane or North Texas and JMU could both finish ahead of them. In the end, I think Duke would pip JMU and make it, but there's a possibility they don't. Yeah.
So I mean, Virginia would probably still be kind of on the cusp too, right? I mean, they're pretty low in the rankings right now. What are they, like 19, 20?
They are 18. Yes.
Yeah.
But if Virginia loses, they're obviously out. But if they win, I feel like they'd probably they're higher than JMU, so they would easily be the 5th conference champion.
Yeah. Right.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So winning you're in for Virginia.
Yeah.
Seeing Virginia in the college football playoff, honestly, would be pretty cool. I grew up in Charlottesville. I got a lot of friends that went to UVA, so that'd be fun.
Give it a few years. We just talked about Virginia Tech's going to be in the college football playoff too with James Franklin.
Tony Elliott better enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like this for long.
Yeah.
I wonder, and with him, if he can keep up even some success, being a longtime Clemson guy, does he get that job if Dabo retires soon or steps away? That'd be an interesting one.
I don't.
To me, I want to see another good year or two out of Elliott before I'm doing that.
Totally.
And I know Clemson had a terrible year, but I think Dabo has earned himself at least another year or two there at Clemson.
Absolutely.
For sure. So
Their D coordinator, Tom Allen, former Indiana head coach, also mentioned as a USF possible head coach candidate.
Interesting.
So,
one of the guys I was thinking about
last year.
too, one of the guys who should get some consideration in my mind is Brian Daboll. I mean, I know he got fired from the Giants.
Well, he's relatively high on the Penn State odds right now.
He should. I think that'd be a great hire for them.
Yeah.
He should be.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a great hire. And Saban's gave him his blessing there. I think there'd be a good guy too. So, I would probably go for it if I was Penn State. I mean, we've already talked about the big guy, and Kiffin's probably never going to go there. Then your second tier guys are already signed elsewhere today. So who else is there left that you're looking at? I mean, your list is getting smaller every day.
Yep. Very small. Yeah. Interestingly enough, John Gruden's still out there.
Hi. It's funny you see his name for every job too. Somebody knows it.
I saw him for USF. Somebody's wanting him to go to USF because of the Florida ties and Tampa Bay area and all that. So
No, I think he's taking a big job or nothing.
Mm-hmm. 2 minutes.
So I'll ask one question. Any job that, whether it be for firing or coach leaving, is there a job that didn't open today that you expect will open up this cycle? For me, it's a tough. I don't know.
Maybe
JMU's probably the most likely. If Chesney takes another job, that's probably what I would guess. But
that's the only one I can think. Kentucky, the one we just talked about. It seems like Stoops is on thin ice out there in Lexington. And then I do think Chesney. I don't know. I guess it's really Penn State or UCLA for Chesney, and that could go any which way.
Yeah, and Steven always talks about Kurt Ferentz retiring and Stoops going up there, but Ferentz having another good year this year at Iowa, which is insane to think about. But he may stay for another year. I know,
and I don't know after how poor Kentucky's been the last few years. I don't know if he's the guy they'll want. Like, some of their fan base might riot if they're taking on a guy that's been that poor. So
that's a good point.
Who knows? They'll have options.
Yep.
I think it's kind of nuts. You're talking about, could there even be another job that opens up maybe in the SEC or outside it? But somebody put this out there and it makes, you just do the numbers real quick. It was something like close to a third of the SEC hired a new coach today.
Wow. Yeah.
Close to 33%. That's crazy.
After having none last year.
Right.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Which was funny because I remember people talking this offseason about that. Like, there was 0 openings last year. That means this year could be a bloodbath.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Let me ask one question. Go ahead.
I think you see the opposite of, the Big Ten, we're not going to have many this year.
Yeah.
Next year, Michigan State might be the only Big Ten one. We might see a lot in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah. For sure. One question I want to ask you guys real quick. Mont Norvell, his name's been brought up a lot. Florida State has given him a blessing of they're going to keep him another year. But do you think if a flashy hire comes up, then, does that really weigh anything? Do you think they will keep him another year? Does that have is there any weight to them saying, hey, you're our guy for another year at least?
Yeah, no. I don't think they would have lied and then fire him in a week or two.
Yeah.
He's going to be the coach next year because the buyout is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Florida State has had money issues for years. They don't compete with the best of them when it comes to money. I know they're, putting a lot more money. That's partly why Jimbo left for A&M years ago, was because A&M was like, look, we'll give you whatever you want. And Florida State was like,
when they had the 20-year dynasty of Bowden and being top 4 every year, he was never among the highest paid. And their assistant coaching pool was never very high. So he truly amazing what he was doing in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I do think I think Norvell could be one of those guys when buyout's going to change a lot. It could have been over $100 million to fire him, his assistants, hire another coach. Like, it was way too much money for Florida State. They didn't have a choice. Like, they had to keep him another year. But I could see once that buyout drops a little bit more. I don't see this getting much better unless because now he's in the cycle of portal, right? Like he hasn't been recruiting very highly at the high school level. And so now he's having to bring in all this portal talent that can go a lot of ways, right? Like maybe next year he hits and he gets some guys like they had a couple years ago where they barely missed the college football playoff. So it could hit and maybe he wins 9 games next year, but I don't see it. I could very well see, 3, 4, 5 games into next year. Like that's the first job that opens.
Could be. Yeah. Well, I don't think Wisconsin could be one that opens early next year too.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
We've talked about that one.
We have.
I can't believe that one hasn't worked out. I thought that was a home run.
Everybody did.
I know.
He was the elite guy of that cycle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But no doubt about it.
Thanks, Off-Season After Dark fans. We'll leave you for tonight, but thanks for tuning into our first live episode. And you can check out Jake on Tide Talk, Bama After Dark. I always get it mixed up, Jake. Which one do you do with Stacy?
It's Tide Talk Live. Me and Stacy do Tide Talk Live.
Yeah.
And then I'm the solo on Bama After Dark.
Yeah. And Bossman, you can check him out on Biscuits and SEC with his brother Hammer. Will Hammer be on this week, or is he honeymooning somewhere?
He should be back. So he's actually 38 right now. Great honeymoon. By the way, funny enough, so every week on Biscuits and SEC Live, we go live at 7 Eastern, 6 Central on Wednesdays, and we do a biscuit of the week, Mike, as you know well. So he has sent me like 3 different incredible looking biscuits from 30A. So we have content for like 3 weeks for his honeymoon.
He's going to knock Rick off from being Captain Biscuit with that. Yeah,
he is. He's making a run for Captain Biscuit of the Year.
Nice.
And then you can check all of us out next Thursday on SEC After Dark on our group show. So look forward to all of that. Thanks, guys, for being here. It was a great episode.
Thanks, y'all.
See y'all.